Bet on Bears fans, another edition of the Chicago Bears podcast coming your way. Pat the Designer back at it again. Solo dolo today, but that's okay because we have a very jam-packed episode for you. Listen, I started doing a little bit of deep diving because we keep hearing the word all in. The Bears need to be all in. Go after it. Go all in. And the big question then comes to my mind, okay, well, what have teams that have gone all in history done? Has it worked out for them? Have you gotten better? Have you been a team that you look at and you say, yep, that's the kind of team that was able to dominate for years to come? Or did you kind of just go, that was fun maybe that season, but it really didn't get you to where you want to go? We'll talk about all that and more in today's episode of the Chicago Bears podcast. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Today's episode is always brought to you by Underdog. Make picks, win money. All right, let's jump straight into this because I literally went through, and I believe going back to 2018, I went through all of the big name moves that could have been done or that you might call big name moves that we saw around the NFL, right? Because there have been, some teams that have said, F it, we're there. We want to go all in. We want to attack this. We feel like we're in a position to go after the big name, the Bears being one of them a couple of times here. And the big question I had was, okay, well, what kind of winning situation did it put you in? Did it put you in this advantageous world where you were going out there and winning championships? Did it put you in this world where you were finishing the season in the NFC title game at least, right? Because if you make a big trade and you get to an NFC title game or an AFC title game, I can at least kind of live with it because you made a big swing. Maybe it didn't get you all the way there, but at least you were in contention. You put yourself in the conversation to go out there and win an NFL Super Bowl. And so I can kind of deal with that. So I started going through some of the big trades that we saw throughout history, right? Rams going after Matthew Stafford, Rams going after Ramsey, 49ers going after Christian McCaffrey, who, although it wasn't premium picks, right, still some high draft capital that they went after there. Bears going after Maxx, Jamal Adams of the Seahawks, Trey Lance. I also added some of the draft trades in here, right? I added some of the draft trades in here as well. Trey Lance in that, Deshaun Watson to the Browns, right? And looking back throughout history, when you talk about all in for the capital that was given up, massive draft capital, here's the list of guys that won a Super Bowl off of that. Going back to 2018, I'm sure if we took this back even further, we probably could find even more there. But the Rams for Matthew Stafford and the Rams for Jalen Ramsey. Those are the two names, both on the same team, that ended up being able to go out there and get a Super Bowl championship. Now, when you start to get into the guys that end up at least getting into an NFC title game, right, then you get a little bit better in that conversation. Matthew Stafford made a title game. Ramsey, of course, made a title game. McCaffrey made a title game. Stephon Diggs made a title game. Orlando Brown Jr., although I don't know if you want to give him that because he kind of went to a team that was already a juggernaut, but they did give a lot up for him. But he ended up going to getting a Super Bowl appearance and going to an AFC championship game. So you get some better numbers there, but names of big trades that are still left out there, right? Khalil Mack, Jamal Adams, Minkah Fitzpatrick when he was traded to the Steelers, Laremy Tunsil, Trey Lance, barely even played for the team, and they gave up 3 firsts for him. Deshaun Watson, historic draft capital, crazy contract. Haven't even sniffed a playoff game or him playing 10 games in a season. Russell Wilson from the Broncos, blockbuster package. I guess that's one that now you can say has maybe the team receiving that probably got the best compensation because that ends up being draft picks that end up turning into Devin Witherspoon, right? And so that was something that was massive for the Seahawks winning the Super Bowl. But Russell Wilson to the Broncos, I don't believe he even made a playoff appearance there, right? Tyreek Hill and all the capital that they gave up for him in Miami. I don't even know if Tyreek Hill and the Dolphins still like each other. So bottom line in all of this, right? If you're talking about going out and adding some kind of historic piece, let's say the Bears go out and talk about, we went fantasy a little bit with me and Shay the other day, right? And we spoke on the possibility of going out and getting Myles Garrett, and you give up the world to go get Myles Garrett. At least you know, hey, we've got the guy. Maybe that gets it done. But more consistently, there has been one way and one way alone that teams have found ways to win this game. Building internally, building via the draft. I get it. You can talk about some big name moves that have been made in the history, and they have been a part of teams that have won. But for the most part, the Kansas City Chiefs are a team that was built through the draft. For the most part, when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, that's a team that's built through the draft. The Seahawks, the Patriots, just about outside of one signing, if you want to talk about DeMarcus Lawrence, outside of a Milton Williams, they get to the Super Bowl off of pieces that they had in-house. And so to me, right, if the Bears were to get Maxx Crosby, I'm not going to sit here and say I wouldn't be excited. If the Bears were to go blockbuster and get Myles Garrett, I'm not going to sit here and say I wouldn't be excited, right? And I think every Bears fan should be excited in that situation because you're getting a dominant piece. You're getting a game-changing piece. You're getting that piece that you could add to your defense and say, he definitely helps us get better. But does he help you get to a Super Bowl? That's the risk that I don't know if you can take. And history would speak to that and say they don't even help you get to AFC title games or NFC title games. Generally, when you make those moves, you destabilize so much of what happens. And I know we think about just the chess pieces on the field. That's the Madden effect of all of this, right? We think about just the chess pieces that are happening on the field. And that's not where everything stops. What's the chemistry in the locker room? What's the chemistry of the players together, right? Everybody talks about how easy it is to move on from DJ Moore. But really, let's be honest. DJ Moore is a very key piece in the pass blocking game, in the run blocking game, in the pass catching game. A very clutch player, has a good relationship with Caleb Williams, no matter how many times people want to go out there and say, oh, I don't believe him and Caleb truly like each other. You got to see the dynamic that those two have with each other, right? Like, I get it. There are young pieces coming up. There are young pieces that we want to be able to continue to build with, and you want to go with the cheaper piece so that you can add more pieces here. Excuse me. But the position that Ryan Poles has put the team in going into next season is that you really don't have a ton of options for going all in. You really don't have this great line where you can say, you know what, we just need one piece that's going to put us over the top. Yes, I would love to have some of the game records that are out there. I think even a Trey Hendrickson is an interesting name to have in that conversation. But bottom line of everything, the bottom line of everything is history says that doesn't get it done. Now, if you want to talk about free agency signings, right, a Trey Hendrickson, maybe finding a way to make that contract work, maybe you throw some void years in there and you can push the money off to the point where Grady Jarrett's money falls off, to the point where Dio Adangbo's money falls off, and you put yourself in a little bit more of an advantageous situation there. That's a fine conversation to have, right? If you're talking about bringing a free agent in that's going to be able to help this defensive line right away, I think I'm more willing to have that, even though with Trey Hendrickson, right, are you committing money to somebody who is maybe 1 year too late in this, right? Another injury. One of the reasons that the Bengals didn't want to pay him was because of another injury. And guess what? This season, he has another injury-filled season. So I think there's some validity there. Bottom line of all of it, if you want to find somebody that's going to help you push through until you can get off some of the money that you feel that you've spent the wrong way, that's one conversation to have. But realistically speaking, we see championships built via the draft more times than not. We see championships built via going out there and finding those late round pieces that people said in drafts, right? And I love the conversation now is, well, you're not going to find anybody in the draft that's Maxx Crosby. Well, that's probably the conversation they were having when Maxx Crosby was in this draft. Because remember, he was a 4th round pick. He was somebody that was overlooked. He was somebody the team said, nah, we're good on. You could have had a guy like that on your team already. How many players have we seen that the Bears, even through their process, have overlooked over the history of this team, right? And I'm talking about in recent history. I want Rome Odunze to become this dominant piece. I think that he will. Year 3 for wide receivers is usually one of the best years that you can have. It's usually the year where everything clicks and you end up on the scene and you're dominating. So hopefully this year is going to be that. Jared Verse is a monster right now. And so you see kind of where the Bears have, not to say that they've missed, because I don't think that Rome Odunze is a miss, but where the Bears have overlooked this position in the past. And I get it. Last year, we went very much in via free agency, via trades, right? And you saw that with the offensive side of the ball, how aggressive the Bears were going to be. That's very different now with all of the money that you added to the offensive side of the ball, especially on that line. You're already paying that money on the line. Unfortunately for you, it's not money that is producing at the rate that you needed to. And so bottom line is, how do you fix that? I don't think it's throw more money at the issue. I would say look around, look via the draft, Find that gem. And listen, I get it. We say it's not easy to find that guy. That's Ryan Pohl's job. That is Ben Johnson and the scouts and Dennis Allen and the scouts and Al Harris and all of these pieces that are here. That is their job. You don't get to go, well, sometimes the job is hard. Well, guess what? That's the job. And I'm not saying that they're saying that. I'm speaking from the fan perspective. A lot of times we see fans go, well, you can't guarantee that you're going to find anything in the draft. And so you want to go with the known thing. And I get it. The sure thing makes us feel better, but it doesn't help the team in the long run. You want to put yourself in a position where you do go out there and you add maybe a small ancillary piece that doesn't cost you much, right? Like a Jalen Phillips over in Philly, right? And how the Eagles were able to go get that. Even that move, now it helped the defense, right? But even that move didn't overcome everything else that was going on in that building. But that's the position you want to put yourself in. When you start to look around at your defense and you're letting guys go because you've paid too many of your guys, because you're saying, I can't let guys that are in the building that we developed, that we built on, that we put together, leave the building. Right now, the Bears aren't in that situation. In fact, they're in exactly the opposite, where if we're being honest, we may lose Jaquan Brisker this year because we're priced out of it because of the money that we have elsewhere. Jaquan Brisker, who had probably the best game of anybody in that Rams game. An important piece of this defense, a piece that you can move around the entire field, a piece that at times we saw him, lining up essentially as a linebacker out there. At times we see him on the line. What did J-Mac call him? The rookie year that he was here with Flus, Dove Brisker, because he said he wants to be used in so many different ways. He wants to be used all over the field. Like you got to use Dove all over your body, right? Like, make sure you wash your legs. Yeah, some of y'all not. I feel like some of y'all not washing your legs out there. Make sure you're washing your legs. So, like, when we have that all-in conversation, are you in a position to be all in? I think your Super Bowl window is open, and you need to find a way to get yourself to the point where you can be all in. But all in probably needs to be via the draft. And so you start looking at some of the prospects that are coming out. You start looking at some of the pieces that are going to be available to you, not just at 25. You got to hit in the second round. You got to find a way to hit in the third round. Third round's been a struggle for us. We just avoided it essentially over the last couple of years. Fourth round, can you find some pieces there? Because that's what you did this year in the draft. That's why this offense looked so good. Luther Burden wasn't a top 10 pick. Luther Burden was in the second round. Oscar Trapillo wasn't top 10, second round. Kyle Monangai, seventh round. You have to build your draft out to the point where you're literally struggling to retain your own pieces because you have so many pieces that you have added to this team through that draft. That's the situations where, look at the fact that we got Joe Thuney was because the Chiefs were trying to keep a guy that they went out and drafted. The teams that become the dynasties, the teams that win year over the year, the teams that dominate are not the teams that are going big fish hunting every offseason, are not the teams that are trying to fix their draft mistakes via free agency and just throwing money at it. And I think that's not the kind of team that Ben Johnson wants to be. You needed to do a lot to make the hiring of Ben Johnson make sense. And I think we can't confuse that with now a staff that is here that you need to do that same line of thinking this offseason. I think you need to have that same level of success, but I don't think you need to have that same line of thinking. I want to talk about that a little bit more coming up next, but we do got to tell you guys all about Underdog, man. We appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love. If you haven't done so, hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Underdog is dominating out here. Even though football season is over, that does not mean that the fun on Underdog is over. You can download the app today. Sign up with the promo code CBP to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5 as promo code CBP. And it's so easy. Just pick your favorite player and whether they'll go higher or lower on stats like I can't use touchdowns and rushing yards anymore because there isn't any more of that. How about we talk about stats like buckets made, three-pointers attempted. How about we talk about going higher or lower on points, right? If you get them right, you could win up to 5,000 times your cash, and that's what it comes down to, man. Having a great time on Underdog, having fun playing the game, and trying to make the right pick. And by the way, baseball right around the corner, pitchers and catchers reporting. That got me feeling, as John Gruden says, a little nicey. I can't wait for baseball season this year, man. And of course, they're going to lock out right after this year is over. But it is what it is. We'll get through it. Hey, man, appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love. As always, Underdog, make picks, win money. Nick, cue the disclaimer. Must be 18 years or older, 19 or older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 or older in Colorado for some games, 21 or over in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Your roof's got more layers than a conspiracy podcast.
Is that a sandwich wrapper?
Ah, yes. Vintage 1988. It really builds character.
Avondale Roofing. Inspect smarter, dig deeper, and get to the core of your roof's health.
Welcome back into the Chicago Bears podcast. It's also brought to you by the Advantage Dealer Group. Find your next Chevy, Toyota, or Acura and drive off in under 60 minutes, or they'll make your first car payment. Also brought to you by the Hard Rock Casino in Northern Indiana. Las Vegas-style gaming, just 30 minutes from Soldier Field, exit 6, right off of I-80. 94. So we were talking about, of course, right, the situation that the Bears have coming up this offseason and why I don't think you're in the same pressure-filled situation that you were in last season. Let's look at it from this perspective, right? Because this is the one thing that the Bears have always made a mistake with, is they'll bring a coach in, and whatever the coach's specialty is, they go, okay, we know that this is what we brought you here to do. We know that this is going to make the most sense for you, but we're not going to give you the tools to make your life easy. I love the fact that they didn't do that last year with Ben Johnson. You hired Ben Johnson to be an offensive guy. You know what makes offense real hard to run? Not having an offensive line. How do you fix that? How do you fix the multiple mistakes that you made on the offensive line? Unfortunately, you had to throw money at it. You had to find ways to make it work. You had to fix that in one offseason. Most of your receiver pieces outside of DJ Moore are draft pieces. You went out and you added Colston Loveland this year. You already had the quarterback in place. So you felt like, okay, you're getting yourself to a good starting point offensively. I think you needed to do that to make the hire of Ben Johnson make sense in year one. I don't know if you're there with Dennis Allen here in year two. And the reason that I say that, and I know a lot of people are going to look at it and say, what are you talking about? Look at the yards given up. Look at the rushing yards given up. Look at all the problems that you've had on this team defensively throughout the year. I agree. It needs to be improved. But you also saw Dennis Allen prove at multiple positions this year, and his coaching staff prove at multiple positions this year, that they are really good at developing pieces and putting pieces in a position to go out there and have success, putting guys in the positions they need to be in to get those takeaway numbers. So yeah, they were giving up the yardage that we saw on the ground. They were giving up the yardage through the air, but they also were putting guys in a position to be successful. Now the question mark is, how do you get the talent in there so that even though these guys are put in the position, they're still able to take advantage of it? That is something that can be accomplished through the draft. That is something that can be accomplished by you going out there and having Dennis Allen say, who do you feel fits this defense? Because again, Dennis Allen's not calling his defense last year. Dennis Allen was calling a Flus-built defense and finding ways to make that defense work for what his system was. Now, do we need to see maybe a little bit more flexibility in that? Do we need to see maybe a little bit of changes in that? Sure, you'll probably need to see that for the next couple of years, but the goal of the next few years should be finding a way to build a young defense that emulates what we've seen from DA over his time in the NFL. I think you can do that via the draft. I don't think that you need to jumpstart that because there is still talent on this team. And if you want to jumpstart that, you're going to lose some of the talent that you do have on this team. Tremaine Edmonds, before getting hurt, was having a heck of a season. I would love to see what Jalen Johnson looks like with Dennis Allen after having a full season of health and actually being able to keep up with guys. You could tell that he wasn't healthy. He told us he wasn't healthy. He said it's going to pretty much be until next season. before he starts to feel like himself. What does that Jalen Johnson look like in this defense? I would say the same for Kyler Gordon. I would say the same for I doubt you're bringing back a Deshaun Wright, but talk about the development of some guys that haven't been on the field yet. A Zay Frazier, a little bit of Shamar Turner. You started seeing some flashes from him. A DA guy. What are we going to see in year 2 of this? You have to try. You bring these coaches in. You have to trust that these coaches are going to get the job done that you have put in front of them. And it's not just calling X's and O's on Sunday. It's how you go out there and you develop guys. It's how you put guys in a position to be successful. And I feel like we've seen so much of that in year 1 of this. What is year 2 of this going to look like with pieces that DA actually is looking to bring in and incorporate right away? And I'll tell you this right now, for all the pieces that everyone feels have to be here. You have to have this guy here. You got to make this play. You got y'all know my affinity for an Austin Booker. I love Austin Booker. I think that if you focus on developing that young man, you can not only have just a really good third down pass rusher, but a every down pass rusher, somebody who could be a Leonard Floyd on the field. And you've seen the production that he has had since he ended up leaving the Chicago Bears here, right? I look at Austin Booker in that sense, a player that I feel like could be very dominant for you for years to come. But realistically speaking, Austin Booker is not the kind of player that DA normally has in his defense. He wants bigger defensive ends. And so with that being said, very similar to Braxton Jones being here. Now, I'm not saying Austin Booker is apples to apples. Braxton Jones kind of, made his own bet in that he had his opportunity. They took the opportunity away from him because of poor play. But that's kind of the situation where, hey, can you live up to what DA's expectations in a defense are? Because more than likely there's going to be a young guy that's drafted this year that they're going to expect him to go out there and do that. And again, you're talking about putting players in a situation that is most advantageous to them. That's not where Austin Booker is at right now. So I understand DA trying to replace that. I also would understand him going, but he is really good in third and long situations. If we can get teams into third and long at pinning his ears back and getting to the quarterback, let's utilize him in that way. I think you have to allow these guys to build this team out in the image that they want to have. That doesn't mean just going out and getting massive names, because it makes it harder for you to build your team in that way, because you're taking first-round picks away. You're taking players that are already talented players on the team away. And yes, there's going to be some contract negotiations and different things like that. There's going to be some void years probably added to some of these contracts. You're going to have bigger numbers that pop up. Jalen Johnson's going to want to get paid again after having what you hope is a bounce-back season next year, and maybe things change in that situation. But I don't think that you get better by taking talent off of the team. And if you can tell me that you can keep Montez Sweat, add an opposite defensive end and or nose tackle, because I think realistically you need both in this situation, and you can still have Jalen Johnson on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe you find a way to replace Jaquan Brisker in there. Maybe that's CJ Gardner-Johnson or something else, right? Maybe you find some answers to replace the holes, and we know that they're going to do that. The better path to continued success is going to be via the draft. There is no question about it. There is no qualms about it. We have seen it throughout the history of this league. And it's going to make life easier in the long run for you to have not just a Super Bowl appearance, but multiple Super Bowl appearances if you get the quarterback right. And it kind of feels like we got the quarterback right. So I feel like the all-in approach, history shows you it doesn't work. History shows you it's better for you to build with what the coaches have in the building already. Why don't we go with what history says is working? Because we haven't really seen it work the other way. Matthew Stafford's the one time. Give me another situation where a team said, F it, we're going all in, and we're going to go F those picks, and we're going to make this thing work. And it actually showed that not only was it not successful, or I'm sorry, it actually showed that it was not only successful, but also that it got you into the conversation of winning a championship. Because that's what it comes down to. If you're not winning championships, you're not in a great spot. I love Khalil Mack. I would love to see Khalil Mack on this team. I think he was a part of a really fun team. But that's all that team was. Really fun. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments below. I'll be down there talking with you guys as well as always, hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Stay tapped in with everything that we have coming you guys' way this year on the Chicago Bears podcast, especially this offseason. Going to have a lot of content coming your way as we head down. I believe we're going to be heading down to the draft combine, so doing some combine content down there, talking with Courtney down there as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun down there at the combine. Like I said, let me know how you guys feel in the comments below. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bear down. One love. Peace.